A couple days ago, a new FNAF fan game released that caught my eye, that game being Next Week at Freddy's. Next Week at Freddy's is a realism-based, fan-made reimagining of the original Five Nights at Freddy's, made in Unreal Engine 5. By far, my favorite kinds of horror games are immersive survival ones. Games like Resident Evil or Amnesia that try to be as realistic and grounded as possible, while also introducing gameplay that makes you manage scarce resources. These are the scariest types of horror games in my opinion, and to see FNAF being adapted to match that genre more closely had me infinitely curious to check out this experience. With amazing gameplay mechanics that expand on the original game's concepts, an immersive, tense atmosphere, and some of the most, if not the most, realistic graphics I've seen from a fan game, I can confidently say that this game did not disappoint. With that being said, if that sounds interesting to you, then join me as we take a deeper look into Next Week at Freddy's, the most immersive Five Nights at Freddy's fan game. Before jumping into the game though, today's video is once again sponsored by Red Magic. Today I'm teaming up with them to show you guys the new Red Magic 10 Pro gaming smartphone, which is designed to bring an unrivaled mobile gaming experience. Bringing specs like the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, the long-lasting 7050 mAh battery, and the upgraded ICEX cooling system, there's no doubt that this smartphone will go above and beyond when running all of your favorite mobile games. Another notable feature that will help you along with your gaming journey is the 1.5K 144Hz full screen display, which on its own is already amazing. But when paired with the ultra thin bezels and the edge-to-edge coverage of the screen, there's no question on whether or not your games will look good on this phone. The phone also has all the great features you'd come to expect with any other phone, such as powerful cameras and great audio performance. Another feature I really like is Game Space, which allows you to shortcut all of your favorite games, use plugins to enhance your experience, customize RGB on the phone, optimize your power settings, along with dozens of other features that are all designed to make your gaming experience more customizable. If you want to improve your mobile gaming experience, then head over to my link in the description to see more information on the Red Magic 10 Pro smartphone. And once again, thank you to Red Magic for sponsoring this video. After launching the game, we are immediately brought to the main menu. Unlike most fan games where the menu shows the lineup of animatronics, this one instead shows us the pizzeria from the perspective of our character, who is just arriving in his car. After pressing new game, we get a short screen showing us the date, December 16th, 2002, and then our very first night on the job begins. As soon as we load into our office, it's clear that this is very similar to the original FNAF, with a computer in front of us and doors to our left and right. What you may be surprised to discover, however, is all of this behind us, which looks confusing but is actually not as complicated as it may seem. But we'll talk more about this stuff in a little bit. Right away, you may realize that there is actually no phone guy, but that doesn't mean we are entirely left alone, as launching the computer introduces us to our only company. This is Computer Cat, or Comcat, a virtual desktop friend installed right on our company PC. They claim they will give us help with any questions we have, and then begin by asking us if we've ever used this computer before. Upon saying no, Comcat begins to explain everything we need to know, beginning with the file system. This is just like the file browser on all of our computers. You can go through the sounds, images, and company documents that have been downloaded onto this computer. I really like this idea, because during the slow nights, you can spend your time outside of the cameras doing a little snooping into the company's files, learning more about the history of the location as well as all of our equipment. One of these files even includes a fully done guidebook to our control panel behind us, which I thought was an amazing addition. Instead of just outright telling us how to use our equipment, formatting it in this way makes the game more immersive, as you are learning how to use the things in front of you just the way you would in real life, not like how you would in a video game. Before looking at the cameras, there's also two other options on the computer: Help, which allows us to directly contact Comcat, and Admin, which places us on this screen, asking the player to enter a password. This password may seem like something small, but it gives the player incentive to snoop around even more, try to discover secret codes, and overall just pay more attention. Finally, moving on to the cameras, you will see that this game takes place in the same building as the original Five Nights at Freddy's, although the map has a few different changes. There are now a lot more rooms available, as well as 5 highlighted rooms, all of which contain different things in the pizzeria that we will need to keep an eye on. We have the storage room, server room, compressor room, power grid room, and Pirate's Cove. For the first 4, if an animatronic gets into any of these rooms, they are able to sabotage us in a different way. For example, if an animatronic gets into the power grid room, they can, well, shut off our power, which will need to be reset behind us. If they get into the compressor room, they could shut off the pressure to our doors, making them no longer work. Or if they get into the storage room, they could even send something terrifying towards us. But we'll talk more about that during night 3. To stop these animatronics from getting into these various rooms, we have the control panel behind us. Other than displaying things like our door's pressure, our power, light switches, and a power reboot lever, we also have control of the 4 doors of the rooms we need to protect. This means that throughout the nights, we will need to be watching the entrances to these rooms on the cameras, in order to shut the doors in time to prevent any attacks. This mechanic is once again super immersive. It first of all puts you in a way more defensive position, forcing the player to watch the cameras more attentively than in the original title, as the animatronics are now directly attacking us from different parts of the building. The immersive side of it though comes from having the levers placed behind the player, with the only way of knowing which door it's closing being the room name listed below the lever. This forces the player to use the cameras and actually remember each room's name. That way they can more effectively close the doors in time. This control panel adds so much to the game, not only because of that, but also by displaying all of the things that would normally be left on the HUD. This allows the game to have 0 HUD elements, making it just that much more immersive. Another really cool thing which adds so much to this game is the ability to move the cameras around as well as zoom them in. They are all rendered in real time thanks to the Unreal Engine, which makes it so much more interesting to watch over the animatronics. You can angle the cameras in a certain spot to see doors easier and watch animatronics' eyes light up as they move from room to room, which just makes the cameras feel so much more interactable and real. Okay, so I know that was a lot of info dump on the mechanics, so let's get back to night 1. For the first night, not much animatronic activity happens at all, which means we are pretty much let free to get familiar with our surroundings. Whether that be messing with the control panel, talking to Comcat, testing out our doors, or my personal favorite activity, snooping through the company PC. Here we can find documents like readme.odt, which gives us a deeper look into the company we are working for. Thank you for opening this. I wanted to write this text file quickly to answer some questions any current and future employees might have. I am Jacob, the creator of Fazbear Enterprises. In this document, we can read through some frequently asked questions. Some are innocent enough, like, am I allowed to eat and drink on the job? While other questions are a little bit more disturbing. Why is there a damaged Foxy in the second storage room? Another one reads, how do I deal with mourners? It has become tradition among families involved with the incident to leave flowers among other memorial pieces outside the building in memory of the victims. I understand it may be difficult to talk to or deal with these individuals, however, please excuse their hostility towards you and remain polite. This one really shines a light on just how dark the story of Five Nights at Freddy's really is, and how grim it must be to work there. Later into the night, Bonnie began moving around the pizzeria, going down his familiar hallway and almost reaching my office, but that's when I reached 6 AM. There were many more documents, photos, and audios to get through, which I was eager to check out on night 2. As soon as the night started, I got right on it, going straight into the next document. This one titled thegang.odt. In this one, we see different comments from employees who have previously worked here. The first one is from Mike, presumably the one we play as in the original game. He talks about how he gets a weird feeling being around the building, and jokes it off by saying maybe he's just developed a phobia of bears. Another coworker, Zoe, agrees. They're kind of weird by themselves. I mean, they walk around like people. Annoys me that they're taking that job away from us. Why not let us wear the costumes? There's also a pretty strange message here from Sam, which reads, "Might get fired if he sees this, but has anyone else noticed Jacob's been acting weird? He doesn't even bring his kid to work anymore. I wonder why. Maybe he stopped bringing her because she hates Freddy so much." On the second page of messages, we get a deeper look into what's been going on with Jacob. You guys want to do something nice for Jacob? Since what happened with Lara and the other kids, he's completely changed. Even the Freddy costume is starting to smell like whiskey. Sam. Yeah, I think that would be nice for him. He's lost that playful spark he used to have. I know it won't undo any of it, but it would be nice to show him that we still care about him, because he seems to be getting worse and worse. Zoe. Flipping to the third page, we get to see the employees slowly watch the animatronics become more aggressive and out of the ordinary. Anyone noticing how rough the mascots are starting to handle the kids? Just had to take one to the break room to get him ice because he said one of them, Chica I think, grabbed his arm really tightly. They have software to stop things like this from happening, so I think someone messed with their flow controls while doing maintenance. I'll check them out before closing though. Grant. Really important. Jacob has asked me to tell you all, do not set the mascots into guest mode anymore. A balloon string got tangled into one of their legs and it barely missed crushing a kid. I don't really think he can afford to get sued, so he's bolted them all to their stages. The mascots will break if they're trying to talk while being bolted down, so again, don't set them into guest mode. Grant. This leaves us with just one more document to look into, that being Jacob_F.odt. Before that though, I just want to talk about how much I love this type of storytelling. Reading through the documents feels so organic and flows perfectly with the slower nights. The ability to switch back and forth between the document and the cameras really make you feel like you're multitasking while on the job. Reading how the story unfolds through the updates of the previous employees is also just so good. Each employee's personality shines through a little bit in the way they type, and it's through all of them we get to experience what has been going on with the pizzeria before we arrived. Before going through the last document as well as the photos and audio, we need to talk about night 2. This night, things pick up a little bit with Bonnie and Chica both becoming more aggressive. As you can see, while Comcat was explaining to me that I shouldn't let anyone in the compressor room, my cameras were all suddenly shut off, most likely by Chica getting into the server room. To deal with this, we have two options. We can either reboot the camera we are currently on, or reboot all of them. A choice which isn't too hard to make, as having every single camera is essential, so rebooting one won't do much. Because it was night 2, I was able to bounce back from this, but in the future we need to be a lot more mindful of the animatronics positioning, making sure to not let them get into any important rooms, as one minor mistake could cost me everything. One thing that's so cool about this game running in Unreal Engine is that everything is actually happening in real time, and I think that no clip demonstrates that better than this one right here. I am currently watching Bonnie on the computer as he is in my left hallway. Instead of staying on the computer though, I instead get off, preparing to close the door, but because the game is in real time, I'm still able to watch the monitor even though I'm not on it. And you can even see Bonnie getting lit up on the screen when I turn the hallway light on. This makes the whole thing feel so much more immersive, as everything is actually happening in real time. This also does something subconsciously, as when you're looking into a hallway, you know that an animatronic can just walk up at any time, as they're not just a series of PNGs, but actual moving animatronics. Seeing these animatronics up close and personal is horrifying. The designs, while still being faithful, take a few creative liberties which I think work really well. First of all, the size of these things can immediately be felt, as the player needs to look up at them to be able to see their faces. The eyes are also now glowing, which kind of reminds me of the FNAF movie, which to me gives them more of a robotic, murderous machine vibe. While they aren't exactly the uncanny animatronics from the original, these ones are horrifying for a different reason. They truly do look like huge robots that could kill you very easily. That's not to mention just how good these models look. They are extremely high res, down to the little furs on the animatronic's body. Like, these are seriously just so expertly modeled and textured. I played this game on maxed out settings and it is seriously stunning. The environment also looks outstanding. It maintains the charm of the original while also feeling more gritty and realistic. The amount of little details packed into the office also kept me constantly admiring the place, looking for any small details I missed. I know I say this a lot, but this now might be the best looking FNAF fan game I've ever played. Correct me if I'm wrong, but seriously, I don't think any other fan game looks this realistic. After surviving Bonnie and Chica's attacks, it was on to night 3, or so I thought, as after night 2 we are actually introduced to our first nightmare segment. I feel like wait, I can't move. Where the hell am I? Wait, this looks familiar. This is the creepy storage room for my new job. Someone will find me, won't they? The scene then cuts to black with our character being woken up by his alarm, and night 3 then begins. Before the night got too intense, I right away opened up the files to read through the jacob_f.odt file, and what I found was not what I was expecting. The file serves as a sort of log for Jacob, beginning all the way back in 1989 and ending in 2001. This gives us more detail into the things that happened to Jacob that were referenced in the other file. Jacob starts by talking about how it is to run a restaurant, saying that it's no piece of cake, but that's why he has Marcus. He continues discussing the creation of the restaurant, even detailing hiring the talent for each of the animatronics, saying that they have 7 show tapes completed, which Marcus is very optimistic about. Jacob picks up his journal once again next year, in August of 1990, where he talks about how the first restaurant was a success. Not only this, but Jacob also met an amazing lady, Nancy. Everything seemed to be going great for Jacob, with him even returning on October 9th, 1992 to talk once again about how things have been going well for the company. He also talks once again about Nancy, saying things are still going strong, and hints to wanting to marry her. Jacob then returns with another log on February 4th, 1996. I had completely forgotten about this journal thing until I saw the tab again. Life really had its ups and downs, but I am counting my blessings. I lost my wife, Nancy, about a year after my last post, in which she fell pregnant soon after, but I gained the most important thing in my life, my daughter, Lara. Lara was the name she chose. I cherish her more than anything in this world. Little Lara recently turned 1 year old. Raising her has been a learning experience. The next year, Jacob updates once again. He says raising Lara these past years has been difficult. He says that after 4 years of doing what's best for her, she's been getting more temperamental. She also doesn't seem to enjoy Freddy's like the other kids. On the company side of things, Marcus sold his share after the initial boost went down. However, only a year later in 1999, Jacob would update once again. And it's in this log where we would learn that Jacob was offered $12 million by a corporation that saw potential in Freddy's. I would be a fool not to accept, Jacob claims. This seems like yet another big boom in the company, although the next few logs reflect something much darker. Just 2 years later, on April 9th, 2001, Jacob updates his log once again. Well, Marcus made his return, not as a friend looking to reintegrate into the brand. Instead, he tried to demand his share of the corporation back, claiming the fact he helped us start and grow in our infancy entitled him to his share. Jacob says that after telling Marcus his original share wasn't feasible anymore, he had a meltdown in his office, throwing things and screaming, before being escorted by the voice actor for Freddy. Marcus then later came back to Jacob with legal action, which Jacob claims won't be as cut and dry of a lawsuit as he would like it to be. The next log is where things get really disturbing though. Sunday, June 17th. I can't go to work tomorrow. Lara is gone. They found her this afternoon in the storeroom. I don't know what to do. I don't have any tears left. And then again 3 days later on June 20th. I've lost everything. Lara is gone. Sunbird withdrew their investment, using that damn out they had in the contract. People are confused and worried about safety. I have no idea what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't even want to try. Flipping the document to the very last page, we see 3 final logs from Jacob. August 2nd. I keep hearing her everywhere. When I'm working, all I can hear is her crying for me. I don't know what to do, and I can't even look at Freddy the Bear without feeling sick. November 8th, 2001. Work is like hell. I can barely make it through the day. The crying is getting so much worse. Something in the air just makes me feel ill. I feel like she is here watching over me, but not in a good way. All I can feel is her being angry, and I don't know why. She says she's alone, but I'm right there. And then finally, the last log. May. I made a mistake. So that was pretty long, but really gave us a deep dive on everything that's been going down at this restaurant. It also raises a few questions, like what mistake did Jacob make at the very end of his journal? Well, we'll look more into the photos and audio later, but first let's finally talk about the mechanics in night 3. During my first attempt on night 3, I was pleasantly greeted by Foxy, who killed me around 3 AM. This is actually how I discovered Foxy is introduced in this night, but also thanks to the character specific death screens, which I think are great by the way. I also learned that Foxy's mechanic is a little different. Instead of slowly peeking out of the curtains like he does in the original game, Foxy can instead be activated by Bonnie, Chica, or Freddy, and depending on who activates him will affect which hallway he runs down. This basically turns Foxy's mechanic from the first game into an attack from the other animatronics. What this means though is that we can defend ourselves from it. Just like the original, we need to keep watching over Foxy's camera, and if we see another animatronic interacting with Foxy's machinery, we can press this flash button on the screen to scare them away. Even if you happen to miss countering Foxy or just don't see it in time, you can still close the door to stop him. However, you have a very limited time to do so, and need to react as soon as you hear his footsteps. This also briefly puts the character into a panicked state, but it only lasts a few seconds. Also active in night 3 is Freddy, and along with Freddy comes Scrap Foxy. Yeah, that's right, another Foxy. Let me explain. So remember that Scrap Foxy that all of the coworkers kept taking parts from? The one in the storage room towards the back of the building? Well, it turns out if you allow Freddy in that room, he will not only shut off your power sometimes, but will also send Scrap Foxy after you. What's really cool about Scrap Foxy is that he can also be blocked just like the normal Foxy, and upon stopping him at the door, instead of him running back to the storage room, he can instead be seen outside of your hallway, disabled for the rest of the night. As for Freddy, he behaves similar to Bonnie and Chica. However, unlike those two, he will try to get into every single room where he can attack. He also comes to the office, staring through the window as well as standing right outside the doorway. Freddy is a lot more aggressive than the other two though. He can be seen twitching at the door sometimes, and he always bangs on it multiple times before leaving you alone. This night is where the game really starts to pick up difficulty. I died a few times during this night, so let's talk about the jump scares. I actually really like them in this game. They are shocking and fast, but also stay grounded and realistic. The animatronics don't swing around or rapidly move around in exaggerated ways. Just one bite or shove to kill you, and that's it. Which to me makes the animatronics seem a lot more deliberate when they're killing you. Also, the way they just stare at you after you fall over is really creepy. After finishing night 3, we once again go to another nightmare segment. Oh, it's this place again. Can I move? Maybe this time I can stand. I need to get out of here. Move, damn it. We are then able to move and look around the room, before eventually discovering a door. It's like the one in the office, but needs a lever. After looking around a little and eventually finding a lever, our character once again is suddenly woken up, and this is where night 4 begins. Before getting into the night, let's first have a look at the rest of the files on the computer, which surprisingly don't have that much to them. Ignoring the throwaway photos like these random flowers or clouds, we have a few interesting ones, like these 3 posters for the pizzeria, as well as this pretty ominous one just titled Bonnie, or this one titled cylinder.jpg, which I'm honestly not sure what it's depicting. There's also 2 photos featuring the talents who voiced Freddy and Bonnie, which had been mentioned a little bit in Jacob's logs. As for the MP3 files, there are only 3 of them, and all of them just contain small jingles. I was expecting maybe one of them to have something hidden halfway through, but there's nothing really to see here. As for the gameplay of night 4, it's the same animatronics as night 3, only much more intense. This is the night where I really started to get familiar with all of the cameras, and developed a sort of flow to how I would scan the building, making sure every room was being monitored. I got through the night first try, but barely with just enough power to scrape by. After the night, it's once again back to the nightmare segment. What happened? Did I faint? I still have the lever. Hopefully the door control still works. After putting the lever back into the door, we flip it, but it doesn't work. Turning around, we can then see that the room we are in has actually expanded, with the back wall disappearing. We now have to search the never-ending shelves in this room for a key, which opens up a breaker box in the back. Unlocking it reveals a keypad. However, instead of looking for a code, we just need to listen to clicking to find the right numbers. We can then finally flip the breaker box. However, when returning to the door to finally open it, we are again woken up by our alarm, and it is now time for night 5. Night 5 is absolute hell. If you thought night 4 was hard, then you are in for a ride. This night has us still going against the same animatronics, just more aggressive, which shouldn't be too hard, but no matter how many times I attempted this, I just could not do it. I tried over and over and over and died so many times before finally finishing this night. I'm not sure if the game needs a balancing fix or I'm just missing something in the gameplay loop, but yeah, this night was brutal, and there's still a night 6. Before moving on to that though, after somehow overcoming this nearly impossible night, it's back to the nightmare section. This is getting old. Can I just get the hell out of here already? We once again just need to walk around the same room, this time making our way back to the lever. After finally reaching it though and pulling it, nothing happens yet again, with our character saying, "I'm becoming insane, let me out." What the hell is there left to do? Our character then comments on some pipes up above, and after yet again roaming around the room, we eventually find another wall which has disappeared, and inside is a bunch of red pipes. The power is on, I think, so that should be it, which means the air compressor, generator must be off. We can now look around a few rooms which have now become accessible and eventually come across this blue generator, which we can turn on. After flipping the switch and turning this thing on, our character says, "Jesus, this thing is loud." And this is where night 5's nightmare section ends. Now time for night 6, and I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. This one I just couldn't beat. The gameplay is once again the same as night 5 and 4, just with harder AI. But with how long the nights go on for and how many times I was dying, I just couldn't do it. Luckily though, a few people have uploaded the full game, so we can still see what happens if you actually manage to complete night 6. Surprisingly, we once again wake up in the nightmare section. We're still in the same place as before, although the pipes we discovered last time are now all blowing steam. Our character mentions finding something to close the gate valve, so it is now up to us to once again roam around the entire place finding it. After looking around and eventually finding it on a random shelf, we are able to use it on one of the pipes. After doing this, the character says, "The door will definitely be open now." And upon making our way all the way back to the door, we can actually use the lever and escape the nightmare. This is where we finally see the ending cutscene.
Good morning, Montana. I'm Heather Foster reporting live from outside of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where an early morning fire has devastated the building. At approximately 6:47 last night, a security guard working the night shift intentionally set the blaze. The individual, whose identity remains undisclosed, allegedly reported that the restaurant's beloved mascot characters stalked him during the night. These questionable claims have raised serious concerns about the circumstances of his employment and his mental well-being. Emergency responders were quick to arrive and extinguish the flames. Unfortunately, the structure suffered extensive, irreparable damage. No injuries were reported as the establishment was unoccupied at the time of the incident. This incident unfolds as Fazbear Enterprises faces mounting legal troubles. Jacob Fazler, the franchise creator, has recently been charged with multiple counts of murder in an unrelated case. Meanwhile, Marcus Reed has pled guilty to the murder of Jacob's daughter, Laura Fazler. This incident further tarnishes the reputation of what was once considered a cherished family venue. The security guard, once in police custody, displayed clear signs of mental instability and has been transferred to a local psychiatric hospital for the time being. Investigators are working to determine whether the reported hallucinations were triggered by external factors or stemmed from underlying psychological conditions. We will bring you updates as new details emerge. This is KRTV's Heather Foster reporting live. Back to you, James.
This is where the story of Next Week at Freddy's ends. I found the ending to be overall very satisfying, with almost all of my questions being answered. We learn that both Jacob and Marcus have been charged with murder, Marcus having murdered Jacob's daughter, and Jacob committing multiple counts of murder in an unrelated case. This pretty much confirms that Jacob and Marcus are meant to be William and Henry, or at least new versions of them, and I think the way their stories are told throughout the game is perfect. So what was up with the admin password on the computer? Well, after not figuring it out for myself, I searched it up on YouTube, and to my surprise, there's actually no more lore hidden behind this screen. Instead, just a few different Easter eggs depending on what you type in. For example, if you type in Comcat, well, this happens right here. After beating Night 6, aside from the ending, we also get a really cool extras page where we can see and read about all of the animatronics, as well as the ability to free roam the pizzeria, which is just a sick reward for beating the game. I'll have that footage up on screen right now while I say my final thoughts. Overall, I thought that Next Week at Freddy's was an amazing FNAF fan game. While the balancing in the later nights could use some work, I'm able to look past it because I just love everything about this fan game so much. The graphics are some of the best and most realistic I've ever seen. The story was interesting while also being told in a unique way, and the gameplay was equal parts immersive and horrifying. Let me know what you guys thought about the game though. Also, once again, thank you to Red Magic for sponsoring this video. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.